When you're leading, you have a lot of people depending on you every day. You're a source of inspiration, innovative ideas, and practical solutions to problems. You're the negotiator, the decision maker, and the one with all the answers. You're supposed to have endless energy and love every minute you spend working, too. The quiet part, what no one warns you about, is the lack of support that you'll have to do all of that. The stress, lack of sleep, and expectations to keep going no matter what catch up with you. You end up burned out. I'm Suzanne Elnagar, executive coach and founder of Vantage Shift. I empower leaders to transform from reactive to strategic, to lead with confidence and clarity, and to amplify their impact. My clients have landed their ideal roles, forged new leadership paths, and discovered inner strengths and skills that propelled their careers and organizations forward. In this video, we'll look at how burnout looks in leaders, why it happens, and the effects it has on leaders and their teams. Then we'll discuss tips for reversing burnout when it happens and for preventing it from happening in the first place. First, how does burnout manifest in leaders? It's not just about being tired. For leaders, it stems from unrelenting work stress that they're not managing successfully. Executives who've reached burnout experience ever present fatigue. Even when they sleep, the sleep isn't restful and it doesn't fix the tiredness. There's a decrease in patience that makes them show up as cynical, irritable, and when it gets really bad, detached. Executives who are normally decisive and clear thinking become less effective. They're slower to make decisions and they have trouble thinking through alternatives and risks. The symptoms of burnouts can actually find their way all the way down the org chart, too. Before long, the whole team's morale suffers. When a leader's exhausted and detached, team members don't get the support that they need to do their work. Team members will also start to feel tired from the extra emotional load of making decisions that they wouldn't normally make, especially if they're uncertain that what they're doing is right. So let's look at why burnout happens. When you think about how most executive roles are structured, you'll realize that they actually seem custom made to cause burnout. There's a lot of responsibility and accountability, but with limited control. There's always someone to answer to, like the C-suite and the board. They want leaders to make decisions quickly and meaningfully, but expect that those leaders would do what they would do in their shoes, sometimes without being clear on that expectation. There's also a lot of context switching. Each conversation is about a different topic. Leaders have to keep all that background and data in their heads. They're also scheduled back to back with no time to think about how they want to approach the next meeting. There's a lot of ambiguity. Leaders have to process chaotic and often conflicting input. Rarely are they handed the simple items because those are handled by people working on their teams. And then there's the having to always be on. There's no time or space to just tune out briefly, take a breath, and clear their mind. The people around them are expecting instantaneous feedback, ideas, and decisions. Then there are the social and psychological contributions to burnout for executives. There's isolation. Leaders often feel alone in running their orgs. That feeling may stem from their own expectations of how to handle their work, or it may be something that's systemic in the corporate culture. But the result is that leaders feel the burden of not having many, or in some cases, any people at a similar level who understand their jobs. Then there's the image they need to keep up. Executives are expected to look like they've got this, even if they don't feel this way. We all expect leaders to project confidence and decisiveness. We don't like or accept them appearing to be mulling things over or unsure of direction. There's also perfectionism. Leaders often expect themselves to have all the answers, even when those around them might be okay with some dialogue to figure things out. They're also intolerant of their own mistakes, often because being the perfect leader is critical to their self image. Finally, there are organizational cultural causes for executive burnout. For example, many organizations reward working really hard. I find this cultural aspect a little bit puzzling, as I've always thought the results were more important than driving yourself off a cliff. I've seen firsthand how a leader who never pushed any project to completion was hugely rewarded because they gave the appearance of always working. Calling lots of meetings and sending emails at all hours was viewed more favorably than achieved results. In some organizations, there's also a distinct lack of clarity on who can make decisions in the first place and under what circumstances. This can lead to all the decisions falling on the shoulders of the leader. Talk about a recipe for burnout. When a leader is under pressure to not delegate, they can quickly become overwhelmed. Then there's the classic being asked to do more with less. Under resourcing a team is never good business. It leads to both leader and team quickly becoming exhausted and unable to work at their best. Now let's look at the effects of burnout on leaders and their teams. First, on the leaders. Leaders who are burned out are not going to perform well. They experience what I like to call fuzzy brain. When a leader is exhausted and detached, they're going to have trouble handling their normal cognitive load. The problems that they can solve easily when they're okay become intractable and the path forward unclear when they're not okay. They also lack the energy to think creatively and may fall back on tired methods when what's needed is some innovation. They transform in the opposite direction of what's desirable, from strategic to reactive. Instead of stopping to have a think, they might just blurt out the first thought that crosses their mind or adopt a shoot the messenger mentality. Their health also suffers. They can experience anxiety, depression, sadness, and panic attacks. The constant stress also wreaks havoc on their physical health. Leaders who are burned out can endure high blood pressure, headaches, aches and pains, digestive issues, and even a weakened immune system. Now let's look at what happens to the team members who are working with those burned out leaders. They experience their own negative effects. They're less resilient. There's more tension and uncertainty on the team. And there can also be a greater sense of urgency due to the unresolved tension that establishes itself as the new normal. The team works with less clarity. Priorities are shifting, while direction, decisions, and feedback aren't offered consistently. There's also a decrease in psychological safety. Team members start feeling uneasy about offering suggestions and ideas. They also become less willing to experiment and take risks. Then there's the effects on the whole organization who are working with this burned out leader, especially if that leader is high up on the org chart. There's less engagement. Employees feel less connected to organizational goals and mission. They're afraid to speak up and they start thinking about leaving. There's slow and even questionable decision making. Burned out leaders don't make decisions quickly or well. The impact on the organization is that risks become negative realities, and the team has to move to risk mitigation rather than risk prevention. Employee performance can also fall. Productivity can be highly dependent upon people in the org feeling good about their jobs and their place in the organization. Burned out leaders make team members feel uncertain about both. This can also negatively affect customers who will notice the drop in engagement and the decreased focus from their contacts in the organization. If you want to learn more about symptoms of burnout and the effects on you, your team, and your organization, book an intro chat at vantageshiftcoaching.com/connect. So when burnout hits, how can it be reversed? First, it's imperative to recognize it. Leaders and their organizations can identify both symptoms and patterns ahead of time and then track not just activities, but energy levels as well. It's also important to expand the definition of self care. This isn't just about getting your sleep, exercising, eating healthfully, although that's all very important. It's also about reducing your workload. If you're not delegating effectively, start working on how to teach others parts of your job that don't necessarily require your specific experience or expertise. Develop a system for team members to have clarity on decision making responsibilities and on an escalation path. So that includes which decisions they can make on their own, which require them to notify you or get your input, and which ones to leave with you. Set boundaries. Document and share your desired work hours. Block time on your calendar for non meeting work, as well as meals and self care. Stick to your plan. Ensure that meetings have a purpose. Take a long look at your calendar. Remove yourself from meetings that don't require your presence. Eliminate team meetings that are used strictly for informational purposes. You can make those emails or team messages instead. Reconnect with your values and your goals. What kind of leader do you want to be? And what do you want to be known for? Think about what sort of impact you want to have on your organization. Lean on your support system. Find safe people in your network to talk over potential outcomes of decisions. Ask for creative input on ways of working and solutions to big problems. An executive coach can be a very helpful thought and accountability partner. So, how can you prevent burnout before it even sets in? Well, if you want to stop yourself from burning out or want to stop it from coming back, be thoughtful about how you work. It's important to develop a system for working that includes reviews and checks. Each quarter, examine your goals in the context of the required workload and your capacity. Is the load in balance with your capacity? If not, figure out where the imbalance is and fix it by negotiating projects or your role on them. Think about what work on your team requires you. Delegate what doesn't and train team members on parts that only you have been doing. I used to joke that my goal for training my team members was to obsolete myself. The reality is that you'll still be needed, but your focus can be more future forward rather than just keeping up with the current workload. Examine team norms. With your team members and your management, agree on focus time and realistic deadlines. There might be some negotiating to do as well on priorities and trade-offs. Like, if I take this on, then I need to put this aside or give it to someone else. But you'll benefit from the results. Next, manage up. Hold regular one-on-ones with your management to agree on priorities and revise them when needed. Also, agree on and track success metrics. Ask questions. Getting clarification upfront on requirements for a new project will save you a lot of time revising or redoing work later. This is also an opportunity for you to propose and agree on working in more efficient ways to save time. Ensure that expectations are clear. Does your management need the results in a specific format? Do they want regular checkpoint reviews or a chance to provide input mid project? Make sure you understand exactly what they expect regarding results and how you're going to work. So, in this video, we've talked about how burnout looks in leaders, why it happens, and the effects on leaders and their teams. Then we discuss tips for reversing burnout when it happens and for preventing it from happening in the first place. Here's a step you can take right now. Take a realistic look at your current energy levels. How are you feeling? If the answer is tired or not ready to take on anything new, you might be suffering from burnout. Choose one thing, like setting a boundary, delegating a task you normally do, or extracting yourself from a meeting that's recurring, and take that action. What would you like to do with what you heard in this video? If you're ready to accelerate your leadership journey, I'd love to support you. Book a free discovery call at vantageshiftcoaching.com/connect. I'm Suzanne El Nagar, helping you become the energetic, decisive leader who knows how to prevent burnout by managing their calendar and energy like a pro.